Welcome into the Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Open Championship. I'm Rick Gaiman. That right there, Joe Idoni. And Joe, this is it. Our last major championship market for 240-something days, I think is what it is.
Man, you had to do that, right, to start off the show?
That way we can just only go up from here.
Okay, I'm excited for this. Big one, obviously. We got early morning coffee golf, 1 a.m. your time, I think 4 a.m. my time. This thing will be kicking off just a few hours after IPO closes here tonight. Obviously excited. We get a golf course that we've had ample time to do preparation on at this point. We've gotten a lot of good insight from the players. Now it's just time to tee it up and go.
Yeah, so this is literally this time. Right. For us, it's Wednesday night. Yeah, we're 6 or 8 hours or whatever it is away from this thing starting. There's nothing else to be done, right? The research has been done. The stories have been written. The quotes have been said. It's just like the only thing left to do is build your portfolio and wait for golf to start. It's like I don't know. It's not like a nerve-wracking time, but it's like an anxious time. There's nothing left to do.
Yeah, we've exhausted every possible angle and take that we have this week, and now it's time to put our money where our mouth is in the market and see if we can get some good prices on guys and talk through the board here over the next 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's right. That market is open right now. It's a stock market DFS. We are in the IPO phase. It'll be open until 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, or maybe just a bit before that. And golfers are now stocks, Joe. That's the way this works. If you want to short them, if you don't think they're going to do well, that's available too. If you want to bid on them and try to get some shares, that's on you. And then when the tournament starts, that live trading begins and you can continue the process. Let me take you back to last week here for the Genesis Scottish Open. This time last week, Rory McIlroy sold for $9.75 a share. That guaranteed payout, $25 a share, means you profited $15.25 per share on Rory McIlroy. Robert McIntyre hit what was maybe the shot of the year for 30 seconds or for 5 minutes until Rory McIlroy comes and makes birdie on 18 as well. He was 426, doesn't cash any outright ticket, pays out $20 a share. That is $15.74 per share of profit. So kind of adjust your brain a little bit. It's a different style of game. It's all about golfers' expectation and whether they are going to exceed it or not.
Nailed it. You mentioned Robert McIntyre hit maybe the shot of the year. David Lingmerth with maybe the ROI of the year, more than double even Bobby Mack or anyone else in the field at $1.58 per the IPO. We talk about this all the time. He was basically cost you 58 cents, so 2 quarters and a couple pennies, and he's going to pay out $15 a share per share that you had of Lingmerth. So a ton of different avenues and strategies that could potentially be deployed, particularly in a major championship like this. And the Open Championship is one of those ones where every now and then we get a weird one, man. The weather doesn't appear to be going to be the factor in the weird one this year, but you get pot bunkers, you get weird out of bounds stakes. Things tend to happen at this championship, and it's more chaotic than oftentimes we see the other 3 majors.
I'm glad you mentioned that David Lingmerth ROI. That is the second best ROI of the season. The season's almost over. 849%. The only one better, Zach Blair at the Travelers. He sold for $179, paid out $18 a share. So yeah, it was pretty special stuff in terms of those returns. It wouldn't be a recap if we didn't point out what Scotty Scheffler did, because as the number 1 golfer, the number 1 pre-ranked golfer, the most expensive golfer, he yet again cashed you a profit, $6.23. The Scotty Scheffler run continues.
It's unbelievable. I mean, mama, there goes that man again. I put it out earlier. He's averaging 42.9% ROI, I believe, over the last 15 tournaments. And that includes 1 win, Rick, in March. And what has seemingly been potentially, we were just talking about this before we went hot, like, in the eyes of Scotty and the eyes of people who've had a very close pulse on his activity this year, it feels like he hasn't capitalized on such tremendous form, but absolutely is not the case whatsoever in Jock Market. If you're putting in $10 a share per week, you're getting back 15 on average, over a long term, over a short term, he continues to just stack performances at the top of the leaderboard. And maybe this is the week he finally breaks through, the last major of the season. It would seem fitting for him to sort of put a bow on this season with a win.
You know, it is interesting. If you were trying to invest in Scotty Scheffler, this has probably been the best market for you. You know, the outright market, you know, you've been taking really short odds and he's got a couple of wins. You know, matchups, I guess he's probably done pretty well, but like this has got to be by far the most profitable way to have gotten exposure to Scotty Scheffler in the last 9 months.
Yeah, you're going to lay minus money pretty much on almost every event in terms of a top 10, top 20. So, yeah, you're able to turn 10 into 15 every single event, and you can stack as many shares as you want on there. And the consistency level has been pretty much unparalleled since we've started doing these shows with Jock Market in terms of basically, you know, the top price guy spending $11, $12 a share on a guy. You usually have a few drop-offs in there and a win. It's just not been that way for Scotty, and he's basically been printing out tickets at $16 to $18 per share at the end of Sunday every week.
Yeah, really cool stuff, really good stuff. If you want to get involved, we do have a promo code to get you a $100 deposit bonus. That code is POWER. There is a link in the description. It's not just the stock market side of things. They've got the prop pick'em side of things. So right now, I believe there are at least round one scores, birdie or better. There might be some made cut stuff in there as well. So there are ample opportunities to get involved for this week. And a week, Joe, that you mentioned, a championship that is not necessarily the most consistent thing in the world, one that has allowed for volatility in terms of hazards. Those can be pop bunkers this week. It can be that internal OB that we're seeing kind of all over the place. It could be, hey, the weather looks good now, but that might change in 48 hours, right? So this is of the major championships, at least the one that tends to be the most chaotic.
Yeah, and I would say just from the content that I've taken in this week and the research that I've done, not only is it a bit chaotic and variable from a year-to-year standpoint, but I think a lot of people stand on different sides of the fence to what's going to be successful this week. I've seen people say bomb and gouge and drive it as far as you can. I've seen people say lay back and 3-iron. I've seen people predict winning scores of 20 under par. I've seen 8 to 10 under par. So there doesn't seem to be a consensus among people that have got a real good pulse on this thing, which I think sets up for a fun event and certainly creates a lot of different avenues in terms of portfolio building.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of guessing, a lot of educated guessing, and we're going to see in a couple hours here what starts to bear out. Speaking of bears, we're going to play a game right now called Bullish or Bearish, which why is my thing not working? I usually have a nice little overlay that I pop up there, and I'm clicking it, Joe, and it's not coming up.
It's coming. I see it. It's
Oh,
there.
Oh, so you saw it the whole time, like
it's going off and on. Yeah, it's
that's me
pulsing.
clicking it. Yeah, that's me. I can't see it. Oh, there it is.
There.
Okay. It just popped up for me. Yeah, I was clicking it on and off the entire time, like a lunatic. Okay.
The magic of live stream.
It is there. Software and sometimes technology bites back a little bit, but this is where we take an opportunity to focus on 4 golfers specifically. We take a bullish or a bearish stance on them, and we've got some good ones here, Joe. We're going to start with Cam Smith. We're going to pick up right where we left off last year. Our defending champion has a fair value tonight of $8.05. What does that mean? Well, if you buy shares of Cam Smith at $8.05, he has to finish 18th or better to return you a profit. So, Joe, let's start with our defending champ. Bullish or bearish on Cam Smith?
I'll say bearish, but this is probably the one that I think has the most opportunity to make me look completely foolish, because he's not only coming off a win at this event last season, where he was probably in worse form leading in. He's coming off a win like 2 weeks ago in London and a couple of great finishes there at the major championships leading in both in some of the live events. I worry about the inaccuracy off the tee. I worry about the big miss. I worry that this course is not St. Andrews, that I think it plays extremely different than what we saw him in the path that he took to success last year. And I'm just more bullish, I would say, on the other players around him that I think will be similarly priced. So in turn, I'm going to be bearish on our defending champion in hopes that he is not able to lift the claret jug once again this year. How about you?
Yeah, you said it. This is not St. Andrews, right? This is not a place where you can kind of hit it wherever you want off the tee. That internal OB, the miss that he has, which is kind of all over the yard, he's acknowledged that himself, I think is very, very scary here. And you're right. It's relative, right? So you're talking about $8.05. He finishes 18th. He breaks you even. He finishes top 15 or 15th, excuse me. You get $75 a share. But even if he finishes 22nd, which you could argue is like a pretty good finish for a golf course that doesn't really set up well for him, he would lose you money there. So it's all relative. I'm bearish on Cam Smith. Let's go to another recent Open champion who has not won. Has he? I think this was his last win. Was it his last win?
Are we talking Morikawa?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did he win
I think so.
No, Colin Morikawa is up next, and he is checking in tonight at a fair value of 659. I will tell you, he is already over that, so we're going to have to pump that up a little bit, maybe 750, maybe 775. Essentially looking for a top 10 on Colin Morikawa. Are you bullish or bearish on Colin?
Yeah, interesting that he's already over that mark. So I think a lot of people may be thinking like I was thinking, but he's one that I have favorited and was intent on being bullish on for a couple of reasons. The main reason is he's obviously hemorrhaged strokes with the putter all season long. Biggest weakness. Last 4 events, he's actually flipped that and gained about over a stroke per event over the last 4. So he's managed to sort of round that into form. The second thing is, here's a guy who's gained at least 5 strokes on approach in 5 of his last 20 tournaments played, which is an insane number to gain on strokes gained on approach. 3 of those have come in the last 4 events. So not only is he trending there with the long-term form with the iron play, I think that the short-term form is great. Second place at the Rocket Mortgage Classic was his best finish of the season. Hopefully a little bit of regained confidence there. And I think more than anything, Rick, I'm putting a higher emphasis on playing out of the short stuff this week. Hit a bunch of fairways. He's hit 71% on the season, which is about as good as anybody in the field and as consistent as anyone. I'm going to take a bullish stance on Morikawa.
I'm with you, buddy. Yeah, I'm big in on Colin. The stat profile looks about as good as you're going to get for a guy who hasn't won in 2 years. And I did check, the Open Championship was his last victory 2 years ago, and it just doesn't make sense. The things are trending in the right direction. He's had a little bit of bad luck. He's had a little bit of, he had that WD in the final round of the Memorial. I don't care about any of that. I think it's a guy who's trending in the right direction. Let's stick with our trend of past champions and find ourselves with Jordan Spieth. 34th in the pre-rank tonight, already over his fair value of 552. He's at 580. So you're probably looking closer to a top 20 for Jordan Spieth. Are you bullish or bearish on Jordan?
Interesting one for me. I'm going to make a bullish case, and that basically revolves around not so much a statistical standpoint, but sometimes Spieth is one of those guys when everyone hops off is just the time to hop on. And he's so variable, like we talked about the golf course, in terms of fluctuations with what we see from a player standpoint. Now, he's earned you money in 6 of the last 10 starts. However, 5 of the last 6, he's lost you money. So on the very short term, he appears to be on a little bit of a downslide, and I think that leads to somewhat of a discount. You have there his Open Championship resume, which is as good as any. He seems to have these type of tournaments figured out, I'll say. Obviously the win at Birkdale, the second at Royal St. George's, those are both courses in England as well, like we have this week. So I know the form doesn't necessarily check that box, but I think that may lead to a little bit of a pricing break tonight, and I'll say bullish.
This is the one I'm most worried about because I'm bearish. And this is the one that if the Jordan Spieth magic shows up, I'd be 0% surprised, and I'm probably not going to have much to do with it. This will be the first time in his career he'll enter the Open Championship off 2 straight missed cuts. Only the second time he'll enter off 1 missed cut. And I just worry about the short game. I worry that he's going to spray it a little bit too much. I also worry that he's just going to show up and flip a switch, but I'm scared, but I will not have Jordan Spieth exposure tonight.
Okay.
Scary stuff. Patrick Cantlay is up next. Patrick Cantlay will play with Brooks Koepka. Patrick Cantlay will play with Hideki Matsuyama over the course of the first 2 rounds. Patrick Cantlay is your 5th pre-ranked golfer, $8.52 in terms of fair value. That is 16th or better. Bullish or bearish on Patrick Cantlay?
Patrick Cantlay will not finish in the top 16 for me. I'm bearish on Cantlay. I have been for a little while, and particularly anytime that you get unpredictable conditions tend to fluster some players and get under their skin a little bit more than others. And he sort of strikes me as one of those guys. Obviously, the miscut last week. I believe he was my bearish stance last week as well, but he's lost your money in Jock Market in 4 of the last 6. He just hasn't had the typical upside. Like, we see him go on these runs where he'll be the highest priced player and be consistently within the top 5. He hasn't done that since Harbor Town. So it's been a while for him on this sort of middling finishes, and he tends to sort of make a run up the leaderboard on Sundays. But I will start off during the IPO phase with a bearish stance on PC.
Patrick Cantlay is flusterable to you.
Yeah,
he's able to be.
He seems that way.
I don't disagree. I'm generally pretty on the fence with Patrick Cantlay, I will admit. I think that I lean bearish because I think there's also what we've seen from him recently is there's kind of a time to get in and get out live. You know, I think there's a situation where if he were to start a little bit slow on Thursday, I think there's kind of a buy opportunity. We've seen him do this recently where he kind of starts slow, you know, plays well over the final 3 rounds. It ends up finishing T14 and you could have got him at a pretty good price, right? I think that that's probably the way that I'll want to play this is try to find a little tricky in-game spot with Patrick Cantlay. But here tonight in this IPO, I'm not confident enough. And I would rather spend the dollars that I'm going to have to spend to get him on somebody else.
Yep. Agree.
All right, cool. That's bullish or bearish. If you're looking to get involved in the market, we have a code for you. It's POWER. There's a link in the description that'll get you a $100 deposit bonus. We've got about 28 minutes to go in this IPO until it closes, which will happen right around 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight. There was a question here that I think we should address because it's an important one. So it says, it's from B Hale. It says, if you bid $7 on a guy and his IPO ends up being $5.50, do you get him for that price or are you stuck with your bid price? No, you get him for the cheapest price. So when you put in a bid, so if you put in a bid right now, and I'll tell you, this is how I do this during the show. I've already got a bunch of bids in on guys. These are proxy bids, right? So I've got my maximum bid in there and Jock Market will bid up to a certain amount for me. Once that amount is passed, my bids are out. But if we never reach that, I get it for the lesser amount and the excess Joe is returned to me. I can continue to use it. So that is how I do it while we're doing this live show.
Yeah, you did a great job of explaining that. Yeah, think of it as a maximum price that you're willing to pay for a player. And should they not reach that mark, you will get any excess funds deposited right back.
Scotty Scheffler, as I unveil the big board for the first time, the live pricing is, no surprise, the most expensive golfer in the market. He has already crossed over $11.25. He's the number 1 pre-ranked golfer. That's important because it means he breaks all ties. If there is anybody tied at any position with Scotty Scheffler, Scotty gets the full payout. It's pretty valuable, especially when you start to get up to 2nd, 3rd, 4th place payouts. 11.25. That now marks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events in a row in which he's been over $11, Joe. At 11.25, he is going to have to finish 9th or better to return you a profit, and we still have 26 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to be curious to see how close Rory and Scotty are. That's kind of what I'm very intrigued by as the market will sort of wind down tonight, because I think they're levelly priced in the majority of outright odds markets. They're pretty level in a head-to-head matchup market. Yet Scotty has pretty much outperformed him in the Jock Market all season. Whether you go back 10 or 15 rounds, the average payout for Scheffler is about $4 higher than the average payout for McIlroy has been. Rory, of course, has plenty of narratives coming into this week. Obviously, the win last week in an incredible fashion at the Scottish Open, defending champion at this particular golf course for the Open Championship. So I'm going to continue to monitor how close those two get. If both are equally priced, do you lean one player over the other?
God, man, this is like the hardest decision I've made. So I bet Rory, but I I was going to bet one of these two, and I finally almost flipped a coin and took Rory. So that's where I'm at. I think that we're kind of in a spot with Rory where he's putting better than I think people expect him to. He's such a great driver of the golf ball. Not that Scotty is not. Don't get me wrong, but I would have to go with Rory if they were equally priced. But it is razor thin.
Yeah, I don't think there's a wrong answer there. It just comes down to probably anecdotal preference.
The third man of the big three, and I'll be interested to see what happens here tonight because Scotty's already way over his fair value. Rory's already over his fair value. Jon Rahm's still $1 short of his. And Rahm has not been great in the Jock market. He's been a loser in 3 out of the last 4. He's at $8 a share right now, Joe, which would ask him to finish 18th or better. That's a much different story. And obviously he's going to continue to go up in the next 24 minutes or so. But Rahm's lurking here, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the discount option. What's interesting to me with a couple of things with Rahm is not that we've seen a precipitous drop off in form, but we just haven't seen him a ton. Since April, he's only played in 4 tournaments, which is less or fewer events played than nearly anyone else in this entire field that you will find since April. So he has not played a lot of golf this summer. Therefore, we get a little bit of a break on him in terms of pricing, obviously in the IPO, but in other markets as well. And I'll be interested to see how he plays. What is his, I should probably know this, but how is his Open Championship resume throughout his career?
3rd at Royal St. George's. That was 2021. T11 at Portrush. Those are his best 2 finishes. He finished 34th at the Old Course last year. So he's made 3 cuts in a row with 2 top 11 finishes. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. And
yeah, all has been pretty quiet. I really have not heard his name barely even mentioned this week on either the Open Championship coverage or Golf Channel or relatively anywhere else. It seems like the majority of people want to gravitate toward the big 2 or shift maybe down into that next layer right below Rahm.
Yeah, that next layer is where, and we see this often, especially on the betting board, is, here's what Vegas thinks, or here's whatever, here's who everyone agrees on. And then here are 6 to 8 golfers, and everyone just chooses who they like the most, right? So in this scenario, it's Xander, Terrell Hatton, Brooks Koepka, Colin Morikawa, Victor Hovland, Ricky Fowler, Tommy Fleetwood. And you're going to have people that say, oh, I'm a Ricky guy, or I'm a Victor guy, or I'm a Brooks guy, or whatever it is. And this is kind of the buffet. You can just go grab whatever you want here, Joe. So what do you want out of here?
I want Brooks. I'm reading one of the comments from him. Somebody now that says I should just send him the money. Listen, I love Brooks Koepka this week, and I think everyone should. Look, he's been statistically, from a strokes gain standpoint, the best player in the first 3 major championships of the season. He's been the best player in major championships over the last 5 seasons. I think that he is the best iron player in the field right now, and the stats won't necessarily dictate that because you're not pulling a lot of the live stuff, but he is leading the live tour in greens and regulation by a significant margin. The irons have been absolutely precise through the first 3 majors of the year. His around the green game has been fantastic that you see there, gaining 4 strokes at both the previous 2 major championships. He's got a little confidence with the putter. Everything is seemingly working in his favor, and I honestly think that all things being equal, it's Scotty, it's Rory, and then it's Brooks for me. So was very surprised to see him at basically 3x the betting number of those 2 other guys. Now, the Jock market won't necessarily reflect that, but if he's priced with those other guys that we just mentioned within that layer, he's my guy. Oh, you're muted.
Oh boy, sorry. It will be interesting to see what happens to the live golfers here. So you've got, Brooks, Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson, because this is the only the 4th time they've been available in the Jock market this year, and the final time for the foreseeable future, until the Masters of next year. And I wonder what that does to their price, right? It's just this rare opportunity. There is no next week for Brooks Koepka. You're gonna have to wait a while, right? So I feel like, right or wrong, they almost might get artificially inflated a little bit.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective I hadn't really thought about. But yeah, it's an opportunity to click some names that you can't normally click. And there's certainly popular players with Smith. And I know Brooks is a bit of a divisive character, but DJ as well has been very popular. So it's an opportunity to grab someone and build a portfolio with a player that you don't necessarily have that option to every week. So that could be something that is, that people may gravitate toward.
That $6 range does have Cam Smith. We talked about him. Patrick Cantlay talked about him. Dustin Johnson, Cam Young, Wyndham Clark, and others. I've put in bids already tonight on Cam Young and Wyndham Clark, 630 and 615 for Young and Clark. There was such a funny little a Twitter thread from Michael Kim, who was like tweeting about the front nine and the back nine and all this stuff. And he said, a lot of these tee shots remind me of Wells Fargo and LACC. Okay, cool. So Wyndham Clark has won both of those this year. So that's an interesting little nugget, which I thought was good. And even before I read that, he's having such a great year. Like I was interested anyway. And then Cam Young, I just feel like is talented enough. The timing is right. I think his game travels to a lot of different golf courses. I'm in on these two at probably more than I should.
Yeah, okay, I agree with you with the timing probably being right and an opportunity where Wyndham Clark, even with his great form, the majority of people, I believe, are of the opinion that he's peaked, myself maybe included, and then Cameron Young, you're getting an opportunity to buy low. Interesting, though, Rory is the longest player in the field, so we don't have the driving distance stuff from the Live guys, but of the PGA Tour guys, he's the longest player in the field. Second and third are Cam Young and Wyndham Clark in terms of driving distance off the tee. Is that the route that you are going to intend to deploy there? Is there anything behind that, or do you just like the price?
No, I think it's definitely an accuracy game, but I think it's distance.
Okay.
There are some guys, so a little bit will be personal preference. Like we heard Minwoo say, and Minwoo's long, that he will lay back, and that's his choice. But I think there are some of these guys that are going to be able to take out a lot of trouble, specifically the pot bunkers, with distance. And if we get to a scenario, and we might not on Thursday and Friday, or we'll see how soft it is. But if we get a winged foot situation where these guys realize, like, man, these are narrow fairways and I can't keep it in the fairway anyway, so I might as well chop off as much as I can and carry the pop bunkers and stuff like that. Wyndham Clark, Cam Young, Rory McIlroy, this. It's the show, baby. Let's go.
Yep, they both average over 310 off the tee, so big boys.
And if you can carry like 300, you've cleared like every pop bunker out here.
Yep, you clear them all, exactly. But you do take on the out of bounds on some holes, which is a unique like situation in terms of a hazard that they have at this course, which I'm going to wait and see how it plays out. I've kind of gone back and forth on whether I like it or I don't like it, but I kind of want to see how this thing plays out over the next 4 days. And it's probably going to come down to like, if my guys hit it at OB, I'm going to not like it.
Yeah. I mean, hazards are the right word. I mean, there are, so the internal OB, obviously, the rough will be thick, whatever, but like the pop bunkers are literal hazards. Like that might be a half a shot if you find yourself in one of those, especially towards the front of it, if not more. So it is kind of a big deal. Down that $5 range, this is where you start to get to some interesting names like a Bryson DeChambeau at 531 or a Max Homa at 516, guys that might have question marks. Joe, is there anybody here that you think is worth clicking the favorites button on and tracking for the next 15 minutes or so?
Bryson's an interesting one when you just brought up those other two guys, but do you know who's fourth in terms of distance off the tee in those numbers? It's Adam Scott. He is absolutely moving it out there, 310 off the tee as well. He's got great like pedigree in open championships, and he understands the task on whether it's super windy and firm or whether it's soft. He's just been around the block so many times. The putter has been absolutely fantastic for him this entire season, so I think he's seen a little bit of a resurgence there. Fifth place at Royal Liverpool last time. Now I know those conditions were vastly different, but it certainly has to provide some sort of good vibes for old Adam Scott coming into this week, and he's someone that I bet this week, and I do have favorited depending on his price.
Yeah, I think he's interesting. I think he's interesting as well. A little bit further down the board, that $4 range. So here's where you get. So, okay, what do we do with these guys? So Taylor Gooch, who's been scorching Live, Joaquin Neiman, who I think is actually a pretty good fit for this. If you can hit that like low little baby draw, keep it tight, get hot with the putter. how do we reconcile Taylor Gooch scorched earth live to an open championship?
I'm willing to play him, and I am much more confident in him than I am someone like Joaquin Neiman. Now, do I think over the next 5 years, Neiman is probably the better player long term? But there's no arguing Taylor Gooch's form. I mean, find me another player that's won 3 times this summer. And if there is a mold, there's uncertainty for me. While I do think the driving distance off the tee is one way to play it, there's also the way that Taylor Gooch plays it, which is not long off the tee, which if you look at the places that he's won, I said on the live preview shows that I do at Adelaide and at Valderrama, these are not driver heavy courses. These are get yourself in position off the tee and work from there. He's number one on the live tour in scrambling. He's a fantastic putter, and he's just got confidence working. We obviously didn't see him at the US Open, but to me, if we're comparing him to someone like Neiman or some of those other players in his range, it's hard to argue like the guy has coming in with victories, and he's made like $20 million this summer. So he's playing pretty good golf.
Yeah, he is. If you're looking to get involved, the code you're looking for is power. You can see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen there. $100 deposit bonus. They've got the Jock Market, or excuse me, the stock market side of things, the prop pick'em side of things. Lots of fun stuff going on. And obviously, as much as we talk about golf, it's not the only thing on Jock Market. There's basically every sport available to you here. Sub $4, Joe, with about 14 minutes to go. Padraig Harrington has been in a bit of a resurgence. He's longer than he's ever been. He's been crushing the boys over on the senior tour. He played well at the US Open. That's somebody that I've kind of circled for this week. And then, you get a lot of these European golfers like Juice Luton, who's been ball striking the heck out of it. Throw him into team no putt. So there are some less familiar names down here, or guys that are not necessarily front and center on American TV, that are going to probably get a hair overlooked because of that fact.
Potentially, very much so. Rasmus Hogard is down there just below $3. Yannick Paul is just below $3. Ewan Ferguson is just below $3. And one that is in the $3 range that sticks out like an absolute sore thumb right now is Justin Thomas at $3.30. He is the number 33 ranked pre-ranked player. But his name just flies off the page in that range for me. I was able to talk myself into playing him last week. Now that turned out to be a mistake, as it was playing him the last few weeks. But at some point, does the pendulum swing too far?
Yeah, where's he at right now? 330. So that is asking him to finish 49th or better. I do not have much exposure, if any, to Justin Thomas this week, but this is actually probably the format that I am most likely to get exposure to him, because if let's say he ends up going for, I don't know, $6, 24th or better. If he finishes 34th, you don't lose all that much. I think we all agree that if he does find it, it's winning upside. I think this is the most logical place that I would access JT.
Where do you stand on slow putting greens? Is that better for a bad putter, or is that better for a really good putter? You got to take here.
Yeah. So I actually got we did a little bit of a deep dive on this, because the common thread and refrain has always been it's better for bad putters.
Yes.
And somebody on my live chat today was like, "Can you prove that?" And I was like, "I don't know. Can I?" So we kind of pulled it up real quick, and it was just a really interesting, quick, deep dive. And I put one column of just strokes gained putting, and then compared that to strokes gained putting on slow greens. And almost to a man, some of these bad putters are just getting better. Not all the time. I mean, they're going from like 130th in putting to 90th, or they're going from 70th to 45th, right? It's not like you're going from, it's not going to make Ben On the greatest putter in the world, right? Yeah. Just because it's slow greens, but there seems to be enough evidence that says it's better.
Interesting.
For bad putters.
That's kind of what I thought, but I didn't know. It's nice to know the data kind of proves that out.
Yeah, I need to do a deeper, like larger sample, but I'm a believer. I'm a believer in it for sure. Let's see if I can find some penny stocks here on the second page because we've got about 10 minutes to go. I want to get Joe out of here and bidding on golfers here shortly, but we are now sub $3. These are your dart throws. I see Phil Mickelson. I see Henrik Stenson. I see Zach Johnson. I see Richie Ramsey, who I'm kind of interested in. Where can we spend? Oh, and there is somebody that I've already bid on down here, but I'm not going to reveal him just yet.
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, Antoine Rosner, Connor Simi has my intention, but here's a guy. He's not going to top 5 like David Lingmerth, but he's about the same price as Lingmerth. And an interesting one because you mentioned Padraig Harrington, and I did some digging on this in terms of the top senior market. Ernie Els has outplayed Padraig this year on the Champions Tour. He's second in scoring average. He's got, I believe, 3 or 4 consecutive top 10s. He just finished third at Firestone last week. Look at that resume in terms of finishes there. And Padraig gets the big, boost because he still hits at 300 yards off the tee. Ernie hits at 296. I think Padraig is the better option, but if you're going to give me a 53-cent Ernie Els, I'll take the chance. Listen, this is the Open Championship. We see some weird old guy situations happen here, whether it's Darren Clark or whoever it may be. I think that he holds some value there if he's sub $2, and he's one that I might take a flyer on.
The one that I had bid on and someone outbid me was Alex Fitzpatrick.
Okay, why?
Well, first off, I like that he qualified his way into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
The data that we have on him on the European Tour is that he's generally a pretty darn good ball striker. I think that he is going to continue to get better. And when the price that I was trying to get him in at was like, just asking him to make the cut, right? Like that's kind of the key thing here. Like I'm going to put in another bid on him right here at 65th or better. Which again, I'm just asking him to make the cut, and his stats are probably a lot better than people realize they are.
Interesting. Yeah. I've seen his name sort of floated around, obviously with the connections to Matt and the groups of brothers that we have in the field this week.
Okay, Joe, I'm going to get you out of here because I want to make sure you have as much time as possible here for the Open Championship and everything. I can see the bids coming in on the side, and they're coming in hot and heavy. So I want to get you out of here. Good luck with your portfolio. We'll check back in with you here in a couple minutes.
See you in a few.
All right. So here's what's going to happen. Joe's going to go make his bids. He's going to try to get as many shares of his golfers as he can. You're going to try to take them away, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to take you the rest of the way here. You can see how quickly the bids are coming in over here on the community tab. There's a bid on Brian Harmon and Jordan Spieth and Gary Woodland and Matt Fitzpatrick and Alex. I mean, they're just flying in there. Fred George just bid on Alex Norris, trying to take him away from me. So you can see everything is rolling in. It's going to continue to roll in pretty quickly over the course of the next 7 minutes. The most expensive golfer in the market right now is Scotty Scheffler. He has been stuck at 1125 for about 10 or 15 minutes, I'd say. He's got a bunch of really strong finishes in a row. He has returned you a profit in each of 7 straight. That 8th start ago, he lost you 1%. I think we can survive on that. And 1125 is asking Scotty to finish 9th or better. We'll see if he has stalled or we'll see if he'll continue to extend. I will tell you, based on recent history, he will extend. Rory McIlroy, $10.11. So now Rory has gotten over $10 for the first time since the RBC Canadian Open and just the second time since the Wells Fargo Championship. At 10-11, you're asking Rory McIlroy to finish 11th or better, fresh off his victory at the Scottish Open, where he returns you 156% ROI. And then there's that gap. This is the gap we were referring to. Rahm and Koepka are now residing in what I would consider tier 2. Jon Rahm is the second pre-ranked golfer, so he's going to break ties with everybody but Scotty Scheffler. Right now, he's $8.78 per share. That's asking him to finish 15th or better. And then Koepka has carved out a spot next to Jon Rahm as part of the big 3.5, call it, with what's happening right now. Then in the next tier is that buffet pick'em tier with everybody else. Go grab the golfer that you want. A lot of them between 775 and 786. It's Fleetwood coming off of maybe a little bit of a disappointing Scottish Open Sunday, but otherwise a great event where he returns you a 63% ROI, and the third time in the last 4 starts in which he's returned you a very good profit. Cam Smith, our defending champion, is here. Seems to be a little slow on Cam Smith. I get it. He's about what, 75 cents short of his fair value for tonight. He's at 749, which is going to ask the defending champ to finish about 20th or better. I'll tell you what, it's not that bad. Like, I don't think Cam Smith's going to win. I don't think he's going to miss the cut. So there is probably some happy medium in there if you can get him for the right price. Right now, it's $7.49. I'm in on Clark. I'm in on Cam Young, 625, 630 for those guys. I'm in on DJ, 650. So I'm actually kind of living a little bit below that next tier. I'm in on Corey Connors, who finds a bunch of fairways, who has returned a profit in 2 straight Jock Markets, has been okay at Open Championships, and is certainly going to play out of the short stuff all week long. I'm surprised we're not seeing a little bit more love on Minwoo. I thought Minwoo was really going to pop over the course of this power hour. Maybe he still will. We've got about 4 minutes or so. He's at 525, which is asking Minwoo to finish about 33rd or better. His major championship record's been pretty darn good. T5 at the US Open, that was a 222% ROI. T18 at the PGA Championship. I mean, he's been really, really good as of late. Travelers Championship as well, top 10, which was an elevated event. So certainly thriving times for Minwoo. I'm going to try to refresh the big board here. Got about 4 minutes. If you want to get involved, the code you're looking for is POWER. Link in the description. That'll get you your deposit bonus. And we are seeing a little bit of movement on Scotty. He moved off 1125. He's at 1133. Rory, 1052. Any chance Rory catches Scotty? I doubt it. It's not how it usually goes down here in the Jock Market, but we shall see. And then Rom is getting closer to that $9 range. Further down the board, where's the movement? Robert McIntyre up over his fair value. So he's at $4.65, a close call. Runner-up finish last week at the Scottish Open, 465, is 37th or better. That's what you're looking for out of Robert McIntyre. I like Jordan L. Smith, $4.60, but everybody else likes him too because he's 80 cents over his fair value price for tonight. Also kind of looking in that 35th-ish or better finishing position. Further down the board, we'll go to the second page. Let's see who is outpacing their expectation. Abraham Answer, remember him? 310 on a 301 fair value. Juice Luton has doubled up his fair value. That's right. $3 on a 150 fair value. So there is certainly some juice there. Not so much juice on Nick Taylor. 422 fair value, only $3 per share. $3 per share is 52nd or better. Nick Taylor was in the mix at Phoenix. Nick Taylor won the Canadian Open, had a good couple of events at Valspar and the Valero. Scottish Open, he finished 19th. Nick Taylor, people. Nick Taylor is flying under the radar. Let me try to refresh this one more time. I've got 8:58 p.m. Eastern time, which means this thing is going to close pretty soon. We'll keep an eye out for that. Scotty Scheffler, 1169. Rory McIlroy, 1108. They are gaining. So that is basically asking them to finish both of them about 9th or better, 10th or so for Rory. But we're not done here. We've got about a minute and a half to go. Here's Lowry. Already has a claret jug on the resume. 3 straight wins, and 5 of his last 6 in the Jock Market have been profitable. He's at 644. It's right on his fair value. Pretty darn fair. That's asking him to finish 25th or better. That kind of feels a bit like a steal. He's cheaper than Tony Finau, who has really struggled as of late and has been a loser in, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cash markets in a row. Feels like there's a little bit of something that needs to be adjusted there. Let's see. Justin Thomas, a little bit of a run here. $4.90. JT at $4.90 finishes 34th or better. He makes you money. That's where we're at. 39th or better on Justin Thomas. 8:59. I'm going to try to refresh one more time. I think we're about done. This IPO is going to close.
Yes, we closed.
Yeah.
Shut it down, folks.
IPO is over. Wow. JT, I got to see if JT went for whatever that final
was it like 5 something?
Yeah, it was the break even was 39th.
Wow.
Justin Tom. I mean,
got to be an all-time low.
If he finishes 32nd, it will be a disappointment and he will have made you money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to refresh the big board. But before we do you have your portfolio, Joe?
I indeed do.
All right. Joe and his Open Championship portfolio.
Here's who we got. Brooks.
Lock.
Knew he was there.
Yeah.
Hovland at $8.35 per share. Brooks was $8.40, by the way. So both of them right in that $8 range. In the $6 range, I took Shane Lowry and Matthew Fitzpatrick. $5 range, Jordan Spieth and Sam Burns. Then we have Taylor Gooch at $4.77. And then some of the, we'll call them the penny stocks that I have this week are Brendan Grace, Guido Migliozzi, and Ernie Els.
Brooks, Victor, Shane, which I love, by the way, Fitz, Spieth, Burns, Gooch, Grace, Guido, and Els for Joe. That rounds out his portfolio. Eddie got Wyndham, Adam Scott, Alexander Bjork, Keegan Bradley, Noren, and Gooch. How about Guy? Rory and Wyndham. He's going to battle with a US Open rematch.
Absolutely. Good luck, Guy. I don't mind it, honestly. Like, if you think Rory's going to play well, I feel like Wyndham, if you think there's some juice left to squeeze, has probably the most value of just about anybody up there.
Oh, here's who I got. Cam Young, who I said I liked. Corey Connors, who I did get Justin Thomas. So that was a bid I put in hours ago.
490?
490. Jeez. 490 for Justin Thomas.
Thanks.
Brian Harmon, and I did get okay, so I did get Alex Fitzpatrick. I paid more than I wanted to, but I got him at 197. So that's my portfolio. But let's 490 is 34th or better.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild.
Scheffler, Rory, 1-2. No surprise. They're by themselves. 1174, 1118. I don't have anything else to say. Scotty has been in this price range all year. He's returned your profit constantly. And Rory, I think Rory had one negative start. Yeah, Canadian Open. Outside of that, he's been phenomenal.
He's been a stud, yeah.
Rahm, then Brooks, then Xander, who we didn't really talk about. Xander's always a tough one because I think expectations are always pretty high on him. Like, you look at it again, this is a game of expectation. Is all this game is. And 4 of the last 5 markets, he has lost you money. And it's not a lot. It's not going to like ruin your life or anything like that, but it's just like, it's a game of expectations, and he is always, with high expectations.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? He finishes a lot of top 10s, and he's done that recently. I just worry. I worry a little bit about the upside, but yeah, I do think it's a fair price. And I believe that he was maybe flipped with Brooks on some of the odds boards. And then Cam Smith is really the one that I think sort of fell. And we talked about the concerns of it, but I mean, he's still 4th or 5th on the majority of odds boards and in any sort of DFS pricing. And you're catching him at like the number 9 or 10 spot on the board here. Does seem discounted, and he just has he has the ability to break any narrative with the magic beans. You know, the course can set up totally the opposite way of him, as did TPC Sawgrass, and he can just pull rabbit out of a hat like as good as anybody.
Yeah, $8 a share is 18th or better. Fowler and Fleetwood right around the mid 7s. Here's Spieth. We talked about 595. So Spieth is 28th or better. So you could go with the boys, Spieth and JT, and just say, let's get 2 top 25s from both of them and make money hand over fist. Well, maybe not that much.
Yeah, I'm looking at Justin Thomas. So the lowest price in 61 career Jock Markets that he's ever been was 564.
And what is he tonight?
490. Yeah, man.
We've hit rock bottom.
We've officially hit rock bottom. Maybe time to buy it up.
The all-time low. Wow. Tough scene. Oh, I meant to ask you this, and I had it in my notes, and I completely whiffed on it. What do you think? What's the Denny Links? What's his deal?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Right. No one knows.
Zero experience. Now, if you just look at this strictly by the numbers, he's been just about as consistent as anybody from the spring and the summer. 4 consecutive top 20 finishes. I don't know. He's never qualified for an Open Championship, or he's never played for that record. And he's never done the Scottish. He's never ventured over to play the British BMW or anything like that. So this will be a first for McCarthy. I've got my eye on him. Of course, I have my FOMO bet in, but yeah, I have some concerns as there's been a history of, it's just shown over the years. Well, Morikawa obviously completely broke the mold, but for the most part, the Open Championship, you want to have a couple of rounds under your belt in terms of links golf, and he just doesn't have that.
So it's like, I've got the list keeps growing, but there's like 6 guys that I'm just dying to see what happens, right? Like I might not have any investment in it, but it's like Denny, Spieth, JT, Cam Young for that matter. Like guys have kind of like no idea, right? Like there's just a lot of that stuff. And Denny's like low key top of list. Like if he just goes over there and smashes, could you imagine?
And you know what? One of the reasons I asked you that question is when I looked at when I asked you the question about putting, when I looked at who's the best putter on slow greens, it's still Denny.
Of course. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I saw that too. And it's like, well, sure, of course.
Yeah. Because I was wondering how, if he got worse on slower greens or if he was better. No, he's still the best.
Yeah, he's still the best. He's the best. Like any way you slice putting, it's like Denny.
Yeah. All right. The good news is we don't have to wait long. We only have a few hours till this thing starts and the markets are officially open.
Yeah, they're open. So if you missed out on somebody, go put a bid in. You can go try to grab them right now. If you want to get out on somebody, go ahead and try, or wait until this thing gets started. You can short golfers. It's all available to you. The market is live and will be so until the final putt drops on Sunday afternoon and they hand out one of those beautiful claret jugs. Joe, any final thoughts? Anything I missed before we get out of here? Promo code POWER, link in the description. Get involved. Anything else?
Nailed it. They have the tweet up again. I'm not sure if we mentioned that, the $150 giveaway tweet. So make sure to retweet, follow them, do all the things. And I did get clarification from the boys over at Jock Market. I had thought that initially you could just pick anybody. So you are entered by just doing those things, but they do pick the winner of the $150 from the pool of people who picked the right player.
Boo, Jock Market, boo.
But I kind of get it. You got to get it right? If you're one of the 5 or 6 people that get it right, you should have a better chance. But yeah, they're still giving away $150.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, it's very fair, and it's like it's your EV in that is like the best you could get. If you just did that every week, you just like printing money.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah. Sick. All right. Follow Joe on Twitter at TorPicks. You can follow me at RickRunGood. We'll be back next week, 3M open. We're going to start this thing in a couple hours. Use the promo code, support the boys over at Jock Market. They're doing great stuff. See you next time.
Peace.